What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Trust Your Board podcast. My name is Stephen Wright. I'm joined by Mr. William Monroe. Got another mini mock draft episode here for you today. Will, what are we doing?
All right, Steve, today we've got a 10-team standard mock draft. You have drawn the 1 spot, and I am back at the 9 spot.
Awesome. Ready to get started?
Pitter patter.
Let's do it. So the 101, I feel like I've had it somewhat recently, but I haven't drawn it too often here. I believe I have mentioned that Saquon is my 101 this year.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is me bobbing when everyone else is weaving. That tends to work into my strategy. It's kind of hard to repeat at the number 1 spot. But part of it's just, people forget what Barkley was the year before.
Yeah.
He's an incredibly talented guy. I think Jason Garrett's going to be really good for him. He's got an offensive coordinator coming in that knows how to use a bell cow and uses a bell cow in the red zone a lot. So I'm going to go with Saquon here at the 101. How I'm starting any draft I get to 101. So nothing new there.
10 out of 10, you're going to be doing this?
Yeah, yes, 10 out of 10.
Oh, wow. I know a lot of people say, I can go half and half drafts I do.
Nah, I mean, in a standard league, it's 10 out of 10. If we were doing a PPR, then it starts becoming, a little bit more interesting in that regard. But in a standard league, it's a slam dunk bar. So nothing too surprising afterwards. We got Christian McCaffrey and Zeke going off 2-3. Michael Thomas at the 4. Joe Mixon gets up to 5. Derrick Henry, Dalvin Cook, and Alvin Kamara falls all the way to 8. You are on the clock.
All right. So we've got no tight ends, no running back or quarterbacks off the board. The top running backs here for Fantasy Pros in standard, we have Chubb, we have Josh Jacobs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Miles Sanders, Aaron Jones, Kenyon Drake, and Austin Eckler. Chris Carson, so quite a few there. At wide receiver, we've got Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Julio Jones, Chris Godwin, Kenny Golladay, and DeAndre Hopkins. So I'm going to kind of pivot here a bit. Most of the running backs, there's still some ones that I do like, especially here in a 10-team league. But those top ones are gone. So I'm going to see what happens if we go wide receiver heavy in these first few rounds. What kind of running backs will be available at the kind of the next 3-4 turn or even the 5 turn. So we'll go with Devontae Adams here and hope that, either a Tyreek or a Julio slides back to me at the next pick to try to go wide receiver here. So we'll draft Devontae Adams first. And naturally on the turn goes Tyreek Hill and Julio Jones.
Burned.
Right? Always. So at that point, I can't justify taking Godwin over any of these running backs available. So we've got Chubb. We've got Jacobs, Clyde, Miles Sanders. In the standard, I may lean going, with hard to pass up on a Nick Chubb here, even Josh Jacobs. But I've been wanting to not take Chubb just so I still have the availability to take a Kareem Hunt a little later. I do think their offense is going to be better, but I'm just still a little wary of the team. So I'm going to look at Josh Jacobs or Miles Sanders here. I think I like Miles Sanders better on the offense. But Jacobs is definitely going to get the volume. I mean, we saw last year he had 240 attempts, and we got to imagine that's even only going to get higher. Still, he only had 20 catches, so his receiving game might not be there as much, but not as important here in the in a redraft league. So we'll see what happens if we go Josh Jacobs. I don't think I've taken him in any mock drafts this year, so I'm going to see what happens if we go with him in this one. After Jacobs goes DeAndre Hopkins, Miles Sanders, Nick Chubb, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Aaron Jones, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin.
So got a ton of options here. I think run down the running back position real quick. We got Kenyon Drake, Austin Eckler, Chris Carson, Todd Gurley, James Conner. A wide receiver, Kenny Golladay, A.J. Brown, Amari Cooper, Allen Robinson, Odell Beckham. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a running back because Kenyon Drake fell, and that's just
absurd.
Yeah. I can't pass that up. So we're going to go ahead and just lock him in. And I think with my next pick on the turn, I will go ahead and I will be the first person to strike at the tight end position. So the question is, which one. I do, speaking of 50-50 in a redraft, I go back and forth between Kelce and Kittle a little bit. I tend to land on the Kittle side a little bit more often. And now with this recent news from Jalen Hurd, I think I lean Kittle even more because there's just no one to throw the ball to anymore. Debo is likely going to be out week 1. If he plays, he'll be limited. Jalen Hurd's not going to be there anymore. You got a rookie in Ayuk that's going to be learning the system. And then after that, you're down to your Kendrick Bournes, your Dante Pettis. Trent Taylor could pop up there. We'll see. But, the options are dwindling. And I think that's going to mean a fast start for Mr. Kittle. And I like a fast start. So I'm going to grab Kittle, get myself a little bit of a positional advantage there. And we will deal with the wide receiver position on the way back. So after my pick, we had Pat Mahomes, Kenny Golladay, Travis Kelce, A.J. Brown, Lamar Jackson, Odell Beckham Jr., and then Mark Andrews right before you.
Yeah, it's interesting. Austin Eckler still there. Obviously, PPR darling. Doesn't have a ton of attempts, though. So you're really going to be relying on a lot of yardage, a lot of efficiency, which he did have last year. Not a lot of touchdowns usually, though. I mean, he had 11 last year. You got to imagine that comes down a little bit.
So he still was, Will, to put in perspective. He was in a PPR running back 4 last year, and in a standard, still running back 7.
That's not bad, yeah. And that's, getting, over 1,500 total yards and 11 touchdowns. So he definitely played very well, even in standard scoring. But I'm still a little wary, of those numbers coming down, as you mentioned. Tyrod, I think is going to be good. I don't know that it's going to be as good. And then you have the rookie running quarterback potentially coming in. So Eckler's definitely an option. And if I want to go running back, I'd have to go him here on the first, because I imagine this guy behind me is going to take a running back, at least one. If we look at the quarterbacks, those top 2 are gone. Running or tight ends, it looks like we have the top 3 gone. So tight ends are getting drafted a little bit more. Still got Amari Cooper available there, which is interesting. Allen Robinson, Adam Thielen, Juju. So some decent running backs, decent wide receivers available. I don't think I can pass on Eckler. He's kind of the tier break for me that Chris Carson starts in next year. So we're going to go Eckler here and likely look at the wide receiver position at the next pick here. So go Eckler. After him go Zach Ertz and Chris Carson. As I expected, they were going to go with at least one running back there. So we're looking at wide receivers, probably be Amari or DJ Moore. And if I want to go running back, maybe Leonard Fournette again, as I did yesterday. James Conner, you got Gurley there. But not a ton. Having Devontae Adams, I've got a lot of safety at the wide receiver position, so I think Cooper would be a nice pairing there. So we're going to go with Amari. A lot of upside. Not a huge fan, but I know he's going to have his boom games that will make it easier with the, just kind of stable running backs that I believe I have, and Devontae Adams. So we'll lock in Amari Cooper. After him goes Todd Gurley, Allen Robinson, Juju, DJ Moore, Jonathan Taylor, Leonard Fournette, and Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I couldn't have asked for anything better. I mean, the wide receivers that got back to me, Adam Thielen, Calvin Ridley, Robert Woods, Tyler Lockett, Terry McLaurin. I mean, we have some great options here.
There, too.
Tons of safety, yeah, for sure. And at the running back position, just to run off who we got James Conner, Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, Lev Bell, Mark Ingram, David Montgomery. So I'm comfortable waiting because I think a David Montgomery or Raheem Mostert, someone like that could get back to me, and I'm comfortable with them as my third running back. So we'll lock in 2 wide receivers here. And yesterday I went with Thielen, and I really want to pick him again because I really do like Thielen this year, but I'm going to I should do something. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do what I would actually do. I'm going to grab Thielen. For all the reasons I mentioned yesterday, he's got a very safe floor, as we've seen with him historically, but he's got a lot of upside too. People forget Thielen knocks on the door of a wide receiver 1 often. He was hurt last year a little bit. And without Diggs, I'm sure he'll be knocking on that door a lot this year as well. It's the second wide receiver that's a little bit troublesome. I got a nice safe guy in Thielen. I feel like I could add the boom potential of Calvin Ridley. get some of that touchdown upside, maybe that breakout upside. But I'm also staring at Robert Woods. Like, can I let Robert Woods get past?
How do you feel about having two safe wide receiver options, Vic? A lot of people always want to have that pairing of the upside guy and the safe option, right? But Thielen and Woods kind of seem like both safe options. How would you feel about pairing them?
I would feel fine because I don't think they're safe options in the way that Jamison Crowder is a safe option, or that Russell Gage is a safe or Russell, or not Russell, Renfro or Beasley. Like, these guys are safe options. They get peppered with targets, but they do something with them as well. Both of them could be wide receiver ones. I can't, outside of injury, I can't see a world where they're any lower than a wide receiver 2. So combine that with, like, I could use like Barkley as my boom kind of guy. So if I can get, nice safe weekly output from Thielen and Woods, and then get some nice booms from Barkley, maybe some nice boom from Drake, and then Kittle should be pretty safe as well with a lot of upside. I think I'm just kind of getting my upside out at different positions, which I don't necessarily have an issue with. Plus, in a 10-team league, I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility for like DJ Chark to get back to me. Well, we won't make it that far, but it's possible.
No.
Yeah. If he doesn't, I can add Stefon Diggs as a nice boom threat. I could roll the dice on AJ Green. I can add Hollywood Brown. So there's other boom options that I can add later. Will Fuller to give me that nitro button when I want it. So no, it doesn't really bother me at all. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and just do it. So we'll lock him in with my last pick. James Conner, Dak Prescott, Calvin Ridley, Deshaun Watson, Tyler Lockett, Darren Waller, and DK Metcalf. You're up for the last pick here.
All right. So up with the last pick, I've got some kind of versatility, having 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, so not locked into having to grab a specific position. Still got Wilson, Murray on the board as my top quarterbacks. That next tier of tight ends. Not really looking at either of those at the moment here. So wide receiver, we have Terry McLaurin, Cortland Sutton, the aforementioned DJ Chark, Devontae Parker, Keenan Allen. So definitely like McLaurin, like Chark. Not huge on Sutton right now. I know a lot of people have been talking about how for some reason everyone is down on him. Just a lot of mouths to feed there. If we look at the running back position, we've got Melvin Gordon, David Johnson, Lev Bell, Mark Ingram. So we do have some options at the running back position. For me, looking at running back, I've got Melvin Gordon probably as the highest left out of this grouping. And then at wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, Cortland Sutton, and DJ Chark. Knowing the guy behind me has 2 wide receivers, a running back, and a tight end, I would presume that he'd definitely be taking a running back. So if I want Melvin Gordon, likely have to take him. Chance maybe that he doesn't go wide receiver, and it's computer, so who knows what they'll do. But I'm going to go with Melvin here in the first pick and hope that one of those 2 wide receivers get back to me. So we'll go Melvin first. After Melvin goes Russell Wilson and Raheem Mostert. So definitely worked out there. So at wide receiver, we're looking at Terry McLaurin. We're looking at DJ Chark. I like both of them. I think I lean McLaurin. I know you're a Chark guy. Do you lean Chark?
Yes, yeah. I tend to, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I would be looking at here if we continue the draft, but lucked out that I have both of those guys still available. So 5 rounds in here, Steve. You want to give us a rundown of how you feel?
Yeah, so I feel like I kind of did just give a rundown of my team, so I'll make it brief. We went with Barkley first, Drake second, George Kittle third, Thielen fourth, and Robert Woods fifth. I like it. I got a lot of balance. I don't like going tight end early very often. I tend to not like my team when I do that, but if I can on this turn add a running back and maybe a wide receiver, I think things could look up my way. Add David Montgomery maybe at the running back position. And then at wide receiver, we'd have to see who fell to me. DJ Chark would be nice. And as I spelled out, I would take a shot on Stefon Diggs. I don't draft him often, but with a grouping like this, I would. Michael Gallup's not bad. AJ Green's okay. Hollywood Brown's fine. So a lot of options. It would be interesting to see how this one played out, but I like the start. I'm very comfortable with it. How about you?
Yeah, surprisingly more comfortable than I thought I would be, midway through the draft here. Looking at the Adams Cooper stack, I do like that. Adams is just a huge volume play with upside, just being that top 5 receiver. And Cooper has a ton of upside as well. Boom bust. So getting a volume guy, hopefully here in the 6th round and a Terry McLaurin or maybe even a Chark would be a nice pairing there. But starting with Jacobs and Eckler, you've got a lot of upside. You hope that Eckler can continue what he did last year. Jacobs, you hope that he keeps moving forward. But Melvin, I feel like gives me a solid baseline to pair with this running back. So actually pretty happy with the team more than, as I mentioned, I thought I would be leading into this at the end of this draft.
Awesome. Well, that's going to wrap up today's mock draft. Tune in tomorrow for another mini mock. In the meantime, trust your board.